Good morning, everyone. Welcome to So Dramatic, where we're bringing fantastic ideas to life. I plan to release a short series on silk ribbon embroidery with stitches taken from this book right here. I will begin with the Japanese loop stitch and the leaf ribbon stitch. I ordered a collection of silk ribbons for embroidery for this task. I've always wanted to really try this, but I never really had the supplies to make it happen. I had a small ribbon embroidery kit lying around that I took the ribbons from to make this lampshade here. You can see that I also used paint and running stitches with normal thread and regular beads just to jazz it up a little bit. You can see a picture of the lampshade in these. For this first group, I've selected 3 bright colors, a yellow and 2 pinks, and this orange. I also have a green and a more chartreuse green to try out as we experiment with the first part of this project today. And lastly, I want to look at needle and thread. Here are some ribbon embroidery needles that I bought from Dritz, and a needle threader that is going to be just perfect to get this project going. I'm going to use one of the longer needles for this, and to get it ready, I have the thread, or the ribbon actually, and it needs to be about 12 to 16 inches long. Not too long or it will start to fray. And putting it through this needle by eye, as you can see, is kind of difficult to see, difficult to control. So this large part of the threader can go through, and the ribbon can go through pretty easily, although you can see here that I'm flubbing it a little bit because it's been a long time. There we are, and we're straight through. And I'm just going to leave a little lead-in tail and be very, very delicate with it. One of the things that is the secret to this is to make sure that your tension is loose and not too tight, but still even. I'm bringing it through firm on the front, but keeping one finger on the back in the back so that I'm not actually using a knot back there. I'm just holding it and using the working stitch in order to make it work. So I'm going to hold this with my thumb in the front and pierce through it with the needle and bring it all the way through, and the top has a kind of a tuck in it. Oh, that looks very cute. Look at that. Bring the needle through again at the same part of the base, all the way through. You might have to make it lay flat with your thumb a little bit, and again through the center of the ribbon, pulling tight but not too tight, just to make a little grass stem. This could also be used for petals. I can see it being used in a variety of places using a lot of the colors. Look at that. Oh, it's going so well. Actually, this one's pretty easy. And I love it so much. Look at that. Perfect stitches. Now I'd like to move on to the leaf ribbon stitch. For this next stitch, I'm going to try to use a chartreuse green, or what I like to call affectionately a weird green. It's that yellowy green. There's the number for the ribbon if you're interested. These are ribbons, I buy them from Thread Art. And I'm just going to thread it up, and we're going to get going on it. I measure these to be about 12 inches because that's like a good amount of ribbon to use. Absolutely. I like it better than 16 inch because it doesn't fray and it's not too long. Although because the length is so short, you do have to be careful. Okay, I'm going to come out the back and poke my needle in through the fabric and partially through the ribbon as well to secure it in the back. I'm going from a point A to a point B right here. I'm just going to pull through, point B, you can see where the ribbon's coming out, and this is going to be a looped stitch. So at about a symmetrical place on the other side, I'm coming in and going down to point E, where I'm going to loop over the ribbon for point F. That will hold the ribbon loop in place. And again, I'm just testing this and finding my feet with it. I've actually never done the stitch before. I'm going to go through E and just a little bit down from it, come out at F. And I'm going to try for a fernish look, but we'll see how it goes. Once again, out at point A, in at point B, and then out again at point C in the upper left. And we're going in at point D and out at point E in order to secure the loop. And again through point E and out at point F, which then becomes point A. Here we go, one more time. B to C. Then D to E. Loop over. And in at point F. And normally we would go down to point A, but now we're finishing the stitch. Look at that. I like it quite well in a woodsy color green, and it's working beautifully. Although with a little practice, it could definitely be better. I'd like to move on to the looped French knot stitch. I have it queued up here with some of that bright orange ribbon that I was talking about. And I'm going to go right through the linen and the ribbon in the back in order to secure it well. According to the instructions, I need to make a loop with my fingers and hold it with a pin. What I'm going to try and do is pick up a couple of 2 threads here and maybe try something a little different to hold the ribbon in place without necessarily using a pin. Okay, I've got the loop set up, and now I'm just going to loop around and make the bullion knot here. Push it in, and when we come out we should have a loop and a knot. Oh no, that's a bullion knot. Quite pretty, but not really what I was trying to do. Okay, I'm gonna try this again. We're gonna come out right here. Yep, I've got it all secured. Good. You can see that. And now I am just going to make a loop with this ribbon and put a pin in it. And we're going to try it again. I'm going to do what the instructions recommend instead of thinking I know better this time. I know how awkward this feels to be trying something with me in real time, but here we go. So many of my videos are about trying it in real time. Okay, got the pin in, make the bullion loop, and put the pin in. I think it's more about getting a feel for it and understanding what the bullion is going to do and where it's going to do it. It looks okay, I guess. I'm not really sure if I like that. So you know what? I'm going to try one more. Here we go. Coming up, making sure we're not tangled in the back. I'm having a lot of trouble because I left too long of a tail this time. That's the trick, is making sure that your ribbon doesn't get too twisted, which is difficult because doing the bullion stitch just twists thread and ribbons all over the place. It's so tricky. Alright, so I'm anchoring the ribbon this time, and I'm gonna just try and loop it with my thumbnail, hold it in place, and really get the short pin in there in the right spot. I can see that I need to do more of these and that I'm going to need a lot of practice. However, I do think it is worth it to try. What I should do is make a border on something with some of these ideas, and with, you know, anything like a 2-foot border or more. After doing several dozen of these, it's amazing how good you can get. I remember I tried carpentry once, and that's what I found. After making some trusses and hammering in a couple of 100 nails, like seriously, I got so much better at it. Okay, so that bullion stitch with loop worked a lot better. I'm still not sure how I feel about it. It looks a lot less fancy than the one in the picture, but you know what? I'll bet that author is an old hand at that. There it is. I'm just going to adjust the focus so that we can look at it. Look at that. There's the bullion stitch right there at the end of the loop. One is a little off center, but you know what? You're going to have that. Doing pretty good in the back. All right. I'm just going to loop the thread back through here because it kind of came off when I was trying that. And we're just going to secure it and move on to the next stitch. Last but not least from this first group is the Rosette Bud. I'm going to do this first in one color ribbon and then adding a second color. Okay, so we're out at A and in at B. It looks like it's going to be very similar to the Japanese loop leaf stitch, but let's see how it goes. Okay, so in and out, and essentially we're making grass with the ribbon stitch, but like the book says, the secret is to being even but a little bit loose. And all of the stitches so far in this Rosette Bud, they just feel really tight when I bring them all the way through. And I'm having to spend time uncurling the ribbon, just like that, to kind of get a fuller stitch. I'm going to have to figure out ways to ensure volume. I will say the pink, the light pink, isn't that great on the white. At some point I will try it on the pink or the blue fabric. I think it'll really pop on that. But on the white, this thread is just too pale. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to bring some 2-color ones. So I'm just doing a series of bud centers, and then I'm going to do the outer part of the bud, or the leaves of the bud, with a darker color pink. Although, come to think of it now, what I should have done is done 2 pieces for the bud center and then cupped it in 2 on each side for the wings, and I think that would make me more of the kind of bud shape that I'm looking for. Having switched to a darker pink, I'm going to try the first of the wings, or the outside of the bud, where it cups the center part. Oh, I'm just checking the back to make sure everything's okay back there. All right, back to the front of it, and we'll get going on the next part. The buds are working out okay, but again, I feel like I'm going to need a lot of practice to really make this work, and I'm using the needle to kind of fluff it out a little bit when I pulled it too tight. I definitely think that I should use 2, so I'm going to try that right now. I'm going to use a double on one side and see how it looks. Oh yeah, look at that. It looks so much better. Yeah, I think a double and a double on both the outsides and the bud in the center are what I'm really looking for in this piece. Uncurling the ribbon is a bit of a pain. Another good reason to keep the ribbon length short. If the ribbon pieces were too long, the curling would be even worse. I might even go to a 10-inch rather than a 12, depending on what I'm actually doing. Okay. Pulling that not too tight, but firm. Just trying to keep it loose and making a second leaf on both these edges. Yes, I definitely like that so much better. There we go. I'm just gonna uncurl the ribbon a little bit and pull it to where I want and pull it out. Although I am coming up through the ribbons in some unfortunate ways and causing a few tangles, so I have to also be careful of that. Alright, here I'm just gonna try maybe 3 or 4 in a row. See how I like that? Picking up the loop and coming out again. I guess there's no real rules. What I need to do is make a small piece at some point and just try a little sample beyond this. But for testing the stitches, it looks like it's working all right. I do enjoy them. I did enjoy making this sampler quite well, and I hope you've enjoyed watching it as well. They're the loop stitches. They could be great in the right circumstances. And we've got the fern stitches and the Japanese loop stitch. I like them all. And I just think I need a lot more practice. All right. Thanks for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.